at 2 in the morning just knowing there absolutely has to be a faster way to get your work done? Well, let's dive into this explainer and level up your skills from basic data entry to absolute power user. Seriously, if you've ever felt like you're spending way too much time doing repetitive tasks, or if you just know there's a better, faster way to analyze your data, you're in the exact right place. Let's get into it.
We're going to completely demystify Excel today. We'll be laying out a clear step-by-step progression to unlock its true potential, taking you from someone who simply types data into cells to someone who literally commands that data. By the end of this, you're going to have a toolkit that can save you hours of time every single week. So here is our roadmap for today. First, foundations and essential rules. Second, data management and shortcuts. Third, the financial analyst toolkit. Fourth, pivot tables and visualizing data. And finally, number 5, troubleshooting and macros. Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, Foundations and Essential Rules. Look, every power user needs to start in the tutorial level to build a rock-solid foundation, right? So before we trigger any complex formulas, let's just ground ourselves in the basic Excel workspace. At the very top, you've got the ribbon. That's your command center housing all those crucial tabs like Home, Insert, and Data. Just below that is the name box, which tells you exactly which cell you're currently operating in, like A1. And right next to that, the formula bar. The formula bar is where the real magic happens. It's kind of like the engine room, where you'll be writing the logic that actually commands your spreadsheet to do all the heavy lifting for you. Now, before we write a single line of logic in that formula bar, we absolutely need to remember this incredibly important quote, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." Yep, it's that classic grade school math mnemonic that continues to haunt corporate finance to this day. When calculating a formula, Excel strictly follows this rule to determine the order of operations. Trust me, if you ignore this, your formulas are going to calculate in an order you didn't intend, and your data will just be completely wrong. Bridging this memory trick to Excel logic basically means Excel will always process any math inside parentheses first. Then it moves right along to calculating exponents. After ensuring you use those parentheses to group your calculations properly means your complex, beautiful financial models won't suddenly break over simple, elementary math rules. Moving right along to Section 2, Data Management and Shortcuts. If you are still reaching for the mouse every few seconds, it is time to level up. Taking your hands off the keys completely kills your momentum. It's time to use these rapid-fire shortcuts to give yourself some quick, actionable wins. You've got Control-N for a brand new workbook, Control-S to save, and Control-O to open. But the real game changer here, like the essential bridge from beginner to pro, is F4. When you're writing a formula, hitting F4 instantly creates an absolute reference. It automatically adds those little dollar signs so your cell reference stays locked perfectly in place, even if you move or copy the formula across 100 other rows. Beyond those essential shortcuts, Excel has these incredible built-in features to manage massive datasets effortlessly. Tools like FlashFill, absolute lifesavers. Imagine you have a long column of data and you start typing a pattern in the next column, say extracting just the first names from a messy list of full names. FlashFill actually predicts and extracts the remaining values based on that recognized pattern. You hit enter and boom, thousands of rows are formatted perfectly in an instant. Combine that with the Remove Duplicates tool on the Data tab, and you can clean imported data in seconds. Because, let's face it, accidentally leaving duplicate data in a sheet can completely ruin a financial summary or overstate your sales numbers, and that is a mistake no analyst wants to make. All right, let's dive into Section 3, the Financial Analyst Toolkit. The ultimate upgrade for any analyst is ditching the basic tools for dynamic ones. Pretty much everyone learns VLOOKUP first, but it has severe limitations. It can only search from left to right, and honestly, much worse, it completely breaks if you simply insert a new column into your data. The real power user move here is replacing that static limited VLOOKUP with the dynamic power of index and match. The index function returns the exact value of a cell based on a column and row number, while the match function returns the exact position of a cell. When you nest them together, they let you look up data in literally any direction, making your models incredibly robust and totally immune to breaking when you add or shift columns. It's a total game changer. Another massive upgrade is making your basic functions dynamic. Let's take the standard sum function. Normally, you sum a static, frozen range like B4 through D4, but imagine your sum formula has a flexible, sliding window. By substituting the ending reference of a basic sum formula with an offset function, your calculation dynamically moves. Offset tells Excel to start at a specific anchor cell and move over a certain number of columns or rows.
So you can set it up to capture a variable number of cells, like summing exactly 3 years of data automatically simply by typing the number 3 into one variable cell. Change that 3 to a 5, and your formula automatically reaches out to sum 5 years instead. How cool is that? Now consider this real-world investment banking scenario. How do you handle cash flows with uneven dates? Routinely, as an analyst, you are going to have situations where cash flows aren't perfectly timed at the end of a neat month or year. Using standard net present value, or NPV, or internal rate of return, IRR, formulas in these situations will actually give you inaccurate results. Why? Because those standard formulas strictly assume that time periods between cash flows are exactly equal. So the crucial point here is that functions like XNPV and XIIR are absolute lifesavers in investment banking and corporate finance. These upgraded formulas allow you to apply specific, exact calendar dates to each individual cash flow that's being discounted. They completely solve for those messy, uneven time periods, ensuring your financial models are tightly tied to reality and pinpoint accurate. Shifting gears to the debt side. If you work with debt schedules, commercial lending, or real estate, grounding your analysis in the PMT function is absolutely essential. The PMT function easily calculates loan payment amounts. You literally just plug in the interest rate. So for a $1 million mortgage at a 5% interest rate over 30 years, the PMT formula will instantly calculate the exact equal monthly payment required over the entire life of that loan. We also have powerful conditional logic functions like SUMIF and COUNTIF. These are fantastic for everyday scenarios where you only want to calculate data that meets specific, targeted criteria. For instance, suppose you need to figure out exactly how many bottles of champagne to order for a massive client event. Instead of manually filtering and counting rows, which takes forever, COUNTIF instantly tallies up only the guests on your spreadsheet who are age 21 and older. It handles the tedious filtering and counting for you in a fraction of a second. Which brings us to Section 4, Pivot Tables and Visualizing Data. Okay, so we've gathered and calculated a lot of raw data, but now we need to turn it into something your stakeholders and clients can actually read and understand quickly. Enter the pivot table. What is truly interesting about this mechanism is its sheer simplicity. A pivot table has 4 distinct field areas: filters, columns, rows, and values. By simply dragging and dropping your raw data column headers into these 4 distinct areas, you instantly transform a massive thousands of rows spreadsheet into an interactive, summarized report. The values area is the meat of the table, typically performing the numeric calculations, while your rows and columns neatly organize that data into a clean, readable grid. From there, a well-organized table is great, but a strong visual is even better. You can connect your pivot table directly to pivot charts, and the type of chart you choose matters immensely for the specific story you are trying to tell with your data. You might use a line chart to effectively illustrate trends over time, like sales growth over months and years. You could use a pie clusters of values, helping you find optimum combinations and key outliers between 2 completely different sets of data. And finally, Section 5, Troubleshooting and Macros. Even power users don't want to do the exact same repetitive tasks every single day, right? So let's talk about automation. Instead of repeating identical formatting, inserting the exact same headers, or running the same tedious calculations manually every morning, you can use the Developer tab to record a macro. You simply hit Record Macro, perform your specific tasks in Excel exactly once, and then hit Stop. Excel flawlessly saves that entire sequence of actions as Visual Basic code in the background. Now, you've just turned a 10-minute daily chore into a single button click that executes instantly. 0 effort required. Finally, when you're working with advanced formulas and macros, things will occasionally break. It happens to everyone. When you see an error code, do not panic. These codes are actually Excel trying its best to help you pinpoint the issue. For instance, knowing that #ref, written as a # followed by ref, simply means a referenced cell was completely deleted, well, that gives you the immediate power to go to the Formulas tab, trace your precedents, and audit your work to fix the broken link. Or if you see #name ? You immediately know you probably just misspelled a formula name, or Excel doesn't recognize the text you typed. It is literally a clear roadmap to the solution. You now have the exact blueprint to transition from basic data entry to advanced financial modeling. You understand the foundational rules, the absolute magic of dynamic formulas like index match and offset, how to handle uneven cash flows with XIRR, and how to automate the boring stuff entirely with macros. So the only question left to ask yourself is, what complex problem will you conquer first? And how much time will you save yourself tomorrow?